Okay, hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Carl here, Stage K, back today. And in the last video, I showed you guys how to use the compressor as well as some useful things to do with the key source of the compressor. Today, we're going to continue on that same microphone, but today we're going to be talking about the gate. Back on this microphone again, are we? So, you may be hearing, if I boost this a lot, you may hear in the background. You can hear a lot of background noise in the background. Now this is where a gate comes in. Because what the gate does is close and does not let the audio through before a certain threshold is met. So if we turn on the gate, and we set now that we normally speaking, we are sitting up about that, 20 something range. If I take and set this to say 45, as you can hear, you no longer hear that low shatter in the background. So that is what the gate is for. The gate is here to help us remove that kind of noise. Now here, we got to start talking about attack, hold, and release times. This has the same principle as on the compressor, just that we need to think about them differently. Basically, your attack level in this case is going to be how long time it takes before the gate starts clamping down. For a vocal microphone, I'll recommend having this up in the 80s to 100. This is because if you take and have this too low, it's going to clamp down on your microphone too fast. And that's going to create a very unnatural sound, especially if you're just speaking alone, if it's just like a speaking or a talk show. If it's a part of a band and a part of a song, it's much less noticeable because you'll have that music going all the time, besides from the few lows. So I'd recommend keeping this at about the 80 to 100 at least, unless you really need to clamp down fast because of how much noise there is. Hold time, again, pretty self-explanatory. It's how long it's going to hold it open. So if I turn this up to 2 seconds, it's going to take 2 seconds before it actually releases it or goes into the release time. So this is clearly too long. You can hear the background noise. But if I go all the way down, that's going to be way too fast. It doesn't hold at all. So what I recommend is usually around that, 50-ish hold time-ish, so about half a second. The release time is how fast it starts closing again. So this I would recommend to have fast enough so that it closes before you can really hear any background noise. But I'll also recommend having it slow enough so that way it acts kind of natural in the way that it closes. So I kind of did this wrong. You want the attack to be pretty fast because you want it to open pretty quickly. So around that 30. The release time, however, I'd recommend to try and turn up a bit. Try and keep her pretty high so that way she's more natural when she drops off. But she still doesn't let that background noise too. Here is also where your range can help you very bit. Because if you have a certain noise floor in the room, so say you're in an auditorium of some sort, you have a lot of people in the crowd, noise level is fairly high, you can select that how much range is going to take and actually dampen your volume. So if I say turn this to 16, it's only going to remove 16 dB of my signal from this microphone. And as you can see, that is plenty fine to get the background noise I have in there. If I turn this all the way down to 4, for example, or 3,
Yes, there was a big high chain at the start.
you can hear it's letting through. But if I turn this back up to 16 or 20, it has dampened it enough where you ain't really gonna hear it. So you don't necessarily need to have full range. But it's a nice functionality to have that range there so you can select what you will do. Now there's a few different modes of gate. You got expander 2, expander 3, expander 4, straight gate, or a ducker. Which you can see it's completely ducking my audio, but that's because it has no key source. It's well, self. So you can also use your gate as a ducker, although I'd recommend you to use the compressor as a ducker instead of it. But as far as the expanders go, that is where things get a little interesting, because expander is something you'd like to use on something like maybe a vocal microphone. An expander is pretty much a softer version of a gate. There you can see here is a gate, it's just a straight down. But here you have expander. So you can kind of think of it the same as ratio in the compressor. Kind of hard to explain it, but basically expander 2 is a very soft threshold curve, whilst gate is a very sharp turn because it's just a gate, whilst an expander is more of a door where it closes and opens. A gate is just a gate. Kind of hard to explain. Now here you also have the key source filter, which I talked about in the previous episode with the compressor, where it could be pretty handy to use. And here is where you would use something like a click or something that you attach to, say, a tom, that will create a specific frequency tone, which will then trigger your gate, which is something you see done a lot on toms or kick drums. On kick drums, I tend to use a gate and just use the key filter. I'll set my key filter to that 60 Hertz, which is usually where the base of my kick always is. I'll set my slope to whatever slope I want. And then I'll then turn on that key filter, and then only when that bass frequency or that kick of the kick drum in the bass register hits the threshold, will the gate open. So this is very handy for using on, say, a kick drum or something like that. So yeah. But this is usually about the settings I'd run for a vocal microphone. I'll probably turn it, the threshold is going to vary on your noise level. If you're in a concert arena or something, your threshold is probably going to be more like -20, because it can get pretty fucking loud. Usually when you're in an arena or something like that, you will be blasting, like, depending on what concert it is, you will be blasting at least -18. If it's a rock concert or something, you will usually be blasting about -6 into the venue. So then you'll need very, very high threshold in order to prevent your actual PA noise and general crowd noise from opening your mic. But in the case of here in the studio, where I only have the TV on, like 10 on the soundbar in the background, I can keep it pretty low to about -45. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, a like would be greatly appreciated. And as always, check out links down below for my socials and all of that. And until further notice, stay tuned and stay awesome. And Echo Live the heck out of here. And I forgot that my recorder has turned up, so this shit is very loud. Shit and cut.